Many of you have heard me talk about the fact that I do Verre. What it is specifically is the placing of paint and gold leaf on the back of glass. It creates a mirror, so you can see the camera actually in it. So you can see what I see when I look at you. It is a centuries, actually eons old technique. It goes back to Roman times. And I love doing it. It's a little bit fussy, a little bit temperamental, but it's an awful lot of fun for me. It's a pleasure for me to create something that's almost a lost art at this point. I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps that I do. The first thing, I'm going to aim this down so you will stop seeing me. You'll hear my voice, but you'll see my hands gesturing at stuff. So I'm going to twist this down and hope it doesn't go flying. Okay, so right here in front of me, it's hard to see because you can't, glass doesn't show easily on camera, but there's a piece of glass. And the first thing you have to do when you're going to do a Verre piece is you have to clean the living daylights out of the glass. It can have absolutely no grease on it. I just tapped it with my fingernail, but fortunately I touched it with my nail, not my finger, so there's no oil from my skin, although I'd say from cleaning this I have no oil left in my skin anyway. Cleaning is done with a combination of denatured alcohol and whiting. Whiting is ground marble dust. I usually keep them in jars like this. I spray the glass down with the denatured alcohol. I have denatured alcohol in here, even though it says isopropyl. You can actually pretty much get away with rubbing alcohol, but it is not the best option. Denatured alcohol, it has to do with something with the size of the molecules. I'm not that big a science geek, but it is what it is. So you clean it and clean it and clean it. You create a paste of the whiting and of the denatured alcohol on the surface, and you're cleaning it with either paper towels or very clean cotton. I keep cotton like this around just for that reason, is to clean the glass. And I do it 2 or 3 times until it is squeaking pure clean. And the reason is that the solution that we use to adhere the glue, if there's oil on this surface of any type, the leaf and the solution will not adhere. The solution that I make, this is called gilders liquor. And it is made with a combination of gelatin sheets like this. It's kind of weird to see. You can see the little diamonds cut in them. That's how you determine how much of the gelatin you're going to put in. And distilled water. Heated until the gelatin dissolves, and then a little bit of denatured alcohol dropped in, just a couple drops, so that the water evaporates a little quicker, and the foil, we were doing foils earlier, the leaf grabs down onto the surface faster. I'm not going to give you the exact formula because it's really it doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're sort of doing it hands-on. I know there are plenty of other people who like to do it online. I didn't understand it until I actually did it hands-on. But needless to say, I've created the liquor out of some gelatin, some denatured alcohol, just a few drops, and distilled water. Why distilled water? Because you want to avoid impurities. Can you do it with filtered water in a pinch? Sure, but with something like a tarnishable metal like we're going to use, which is silver, it's going to be a little tougher. Now, this is called, God, I forgot, all of a sudden my brain went blank, but this is what I use to apply the liquor. This is one of Pierre Finkelstein's brushes. It's designed for water paints. It's really nice and thick. It holds a lot of the liquor in here. It's a wash brush. Thank you. Gosh, my brain went blank. And what I'm going to do is wash this gilder's liquor on the surface and then place pieces of leaf. Now what I'm going to use to place leaf is I have some options. First of all, we have this very cool tool. This is a gilder screen. It is made by Mickey and Mitch Kavanaugh of R&B Gold Leaf Studios. I'm going to hold it up, but I know it's going to be in reverse. They make these so that you can pick up the leaf like this and put it down, and you don't have to deal with a tip. Sometimes I'm good with this, sometimes I'm not. So I'm going to test it today and see how I do. If I do badly, I'll go back to the tips. Now, if you look over here, I have a whole lot of different tips. I went to Salon in New York this spring, and I bought a whole bunch of different tips. These are badger hair. They're a little stiffer. These are squirrel hair. They're a little softer. What I like about these is their handles are actually made out of a little bit of wood instead of paper. Most tips have sort of a cardboard edge, but I also sucked up the cardboard that I don't like as much because I bought this Pierre Finkelstein sable tip. And let me tell you, it's sable. So I'm going to pick the tip for the size of the piece of leaf that I'm going to apply. My hands aren't steady enough for me to take a full-size piece of leaf that's about this big and just flip it on the glass. So I usually cut mine in quarters and make smaller patches out of it, and that's my deal. I get that that's my problem. And what we're going to be using today is Japanese colored silvers. I have never worked with this before. I have been warned that this stuff can be very crumbly. So you all are watching me try this for the first time. I take this out here. I'm going to flip it down on my gilders pad. And this is not bound in a book. I just discovered that it's not bound in the books the same way. But as you can see, it's already cracked as I put it down here on my gilders pad. I'm going to move slowly so I don't flip it all over the place. But you see it already cracked a little bit right there. So it's much more brittle than the leaf I'm used to working with, and it actually pleated a little bit as I put it down. What I have in my hand right now is a gilder's knife, and what I was doing with it is sliding it under the leaf gently to flatten it out a little bit. And then I'm going to take my knife, and I always kind of check the edges to make sure I don't have any nicks in it. And I'm going to gently put the knife down and slightly move it back and forth to cut it. And then I'm going to do the same this way. Again, it's a little bit funky. It's already cracking. I'm okay with that because I'm actually wanting sort of a rough look. And then I'm going to take, which tip do I want? I have a lot of tips. I even did a double tip a couple years ago where I took 2 tips and stuck them together. I don't like it, so it just stays in the bag. This is my old trusted standby. I've had this for several years, and I keep using it, waiting for it to fall apart. And you can see on some of it, I've gotten a little gold stuck to it here and there. And if you look at this edge, I have a bad habit of doing this, which I found out I'm far from the only one. So it gets little lip prints in it, which is why I wanted the wood one to begin with. So I'm thinking, having already seen that this is a little fragile, I think I want a little more control over it. I'm not even sure I got this separated here. There we go. It almost has to be broken apart, not cut. Yeah, it's really crumbly. Thank God I got warned. I would have freaked out if I didn't know. I'm going to take a little bit of Vaseline. Some people who are oily skin can take their tip and kind of do this and run it along their face. I'm very dry skin, so I can't. I take a little Vaseline, and I mean a little, because I just got too much on my finger. And when I get too much, I take it and you rub it on your arm. If I have too much, I rub a bigger spot. And what this does is you just need a little tiny bit of oil on your tip to pick up the piece. So you're going to watch me do this and it'll look funny. You may not see it all in the screen because I have the screen focused on the glass. I take the tip lightly, rub it against the Vaseline spot. I grab. This is a little bit challenging. I may need to put a little more on my arm or need to get a little more on the tip. Here, let's try that. Wow. This is very interesting. I'm sure anybody who's worked with Japanese silver would be laughing at me right now. Am I surprised at how much trouble I am having picking it up? Let's try it some more. I got a little more Vaseline on. This is really a challenge for me. My tip may not be too soft, so I'm going to try one of my Badger tips and see if that's going to work a little better. And if I can't get this to pick up, I am going to end this live and mess with it until I can. Now my Badger bristle is a little stiffer. And nothing wants to grab. I'm going to keep trying. Determination. There we go. Finally got it picked up. Need a little more moisture on my tip. A little more stiff bristle. A little better. Now, because I had so much moisture, Vaseline on my arm, I could find that I have a little challenge getting this off of the tip. And it's not on my tip really nicely. So what I'm going to do is take some of the gilders liquor. I'm brushing it on the glass. Oh, good. The glass is good and clean. How do I tell the glass is clean? Is when I put the gilders liquor down and it doesn't separate. It doesn't beat up. And this is how you lay it down. You saw me just take it and go dip and dip. So let's hope the rest of this goes. I got a piece that's not separated again. It's going to take a little work. This is much different from using regular gold leaf, which is lighter, or composition leaf, which is more flexible. This is definitely on the brittle side, and it's definitely a little challenging to pick up, and it absolutely does require a little more Vaseline on my arm. Oh, that's laying down nicely, though. Once I get it up on the tip, it lays really well. You can see it's crumbling because it's now sticking to my arm in spots. This is going to take me a little longer than most of the time this does. I usually can just kind of go frup, 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 and get it on. But in this case, it doesn't want to work that way, so I'm going to have to work this a little bit more than I've ever worked a piece of metal on my life for this. I'm going to try to get a couple more pieces on, and then I am going to say goodbye for a little while, and I will come back once I have gotten the whole thing with the silver on it. This is definitely a little bit of challenge. It does not want, it is going to fight me all the way. I will get it on here. I might have to turn off the camera just so you don't all hear me cursing. I'll give you a little background with my history of Verre Eglomise. I was very fortunate. The first person I ever took a class from, her name is Miriam Elner, who is amazing. Absolutely amazing. She is probably the best known glass gilder. Woo. I'm actually picking this up in my fingers, which I can almost never do. She is probably one of the best known Verre Eglomise artists in the world. Her work is stunning, and when I took the class with her, I had no idea who she was. Now I'm kind of a demented groupie. I like forward everything of hers that I find on Instagram and retweet everything she tweets, and yeah, I'm kind of twisted. I better be careful or I'm going to scare her. But I also had the good fortune to study with Annie Lamari, who, if you're an IDOL member, are familiar with, or if you, she also teaches classes across the country, and Sandra Spannon out of New York, who taught me techniques that I had never seen before. So I'm working with a combination of everything all three of these ladies taught me. And right now my lay down is very far from perfect. As you saw, I struggled with the silver leaf. This one's going to take me a little while to come to grips with. Hey, Kate, nice to see you. Having fun in England? It's freezing here. Or, I'm sorry, in Scotland, it's freezing here. And it's great to see Shay. I've gotten these 4 pieces of silver. You saw that it was a bit of a struggle. Again, I've never worked with this Japanese silver before. It was an excellent learning experience. It's definitely more brittle. I have much more trouble picking it up. She had the teaching on the same project as Annie Lamar. Yes, Annie is amazing. Annie is the person who got me involved with the Society of Gilders to begin with. I think she's the one who actually talked me into taking the Verre class, and I have never looked back. I took it the first day. I thought, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And by the end of the first day, I was hooked. And I have never looked back. It's been kind of an obsession. And sometimes I have a lot of time to work with it, and sometimes I have absolutely no time. It's a cold winter day here. Some of my other work has been canceled because it's so freaking cold. And I'm just down now. I'm making a mess in my studio. I do love the color of this silver, but it's going to take me a while to get going on it. Kate's going to message me some tips to work with this colored silver. I will take any tips that I can get because it's a tough one. I'm trying really hard not to swear in my Facebook Lives. All right, I'm going to face this up, and you can actually see me. By the way, if you've never seen this as part of my studio, this is the other nightmare. Usually you're looking back and seeing all my Faux Effects products back here, but I have shelves here, I have shelves here, I have shelves over there, I have easels. You're only seeing a small corner of my messy nightmare. Oh, thank you, Kate. I will take the tips. I bought this. Not everybody's familiar with it, but New York Central was an amazing art supply store in New York City, and they were going out of business, and they happened to have a little bit of Japanese silver on hand, and I said, sure. And then I found out it wasn't on sale with the closeout prices because whatever they didn't sell, they were going to send back to the manufacturer, but I can't complain because I love it. It's gorgeous. And now I'm going to fight with it. I would say this is the most difficult leaf to work with ever. Yes, I agree. I have a hard time getting it even up on my tip. It's taking more moisture on my arm. I have this cool screen that Mike and Mickey Kavanaugh make, and I'm not even trying it because if I can't get it on a tip, I know I can't get it on that screen really easily. Although, God knows, when I turn the camera off, I might try because I don't want you all to see me screwing this up too much. But I do love it. I love this color. I love what I'm going to do with it. And since it's for me, this piece is going on the top of the nightstand I'm doing for myself. I don't care if I make a mess with it. So again, I'm working with Japanese silver leaf, doing Verre. I have shown you the myriad of tips that I own. And this is a hard thing to video because Verre usually requires a very calm, very tranquil, very serene mindset and place. Now, I don't have any air movement here, but as I talk to the camera, I might tend to move my hands around, and the flapping can make the leaf move around. And right now I'd like to stay working with this while the Gilders liquor is warm. Gilders liquor is usually good for about 4 hours. Once it's past that, it doesn't bind as well. But especially with something that I find challenging, I like to use it while the liquor's still warm, and I just took it off the stove. Can I reheat it? Not really. It doesn't work that way. When will I be back up to continue this? Well, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover this whole thing, and once this leaf has anchored down and all the liquor has dried, I'm going to try to patina it a little bit. Kate does a lot of this, so I'm going to chat with Kate to make sure what I'm going to do is not actually going to be explosive. But this is kind of all that it is right now. I'm not going to do more complicated etching and stuff on this piece So if that's what you were hoping to learn, or some of the reverse painting, that's not where I'm going with this piece. I'm literally just putting the blue silver on the back of this piece of glass. I'm going to work on some chemical reactions to kind of have the silver eat out organically, so it exposes what I'm going to put on top of the dresser, or sorry, the nightstand, in the way of handmade papers underneath it. Just thank you, Kate. Yes, on it. I mean, I'm looking at this. I love this color. They call this color. I'll bring it up again to the camera. They call this color Ocean. Look how beautiful that blue is. Oh, I'm so loving this. I will eventually again have another Verre Eglomise class. I'm figuring out how I want to do that again. I'm trying to decide whether I want to do that online, and whether I'm going to do it in how, whether, what, and how. That's the question. There's so many questions going on in my head right now that I am my own worst question and answer session. You saw how I applied it. You saw what's going on. The liquor is still, I did clean this really nicely because the liquor is still really nicely holding its place. This will not anchor down as nice and neatly and shiny as the gold in this has to get this mirror, because the texture of it's a little different. Has a little bit of a pebble to it, but it's still going to be freaking gorgeous. Have I been able to figure out heavy textures yet? Not sure what you're asking me. Heavy textures with what? Applying gold leaf. Too heavy textures? That's not a problem. That's just a matter of sizing and applying it. Gold Leaf Supplies sell this in the UK. They have like 30 colors, and there's a wicked cerise. I have seen that there's a company here that sells it, and they're sending it. They've got all their Japanese silvers, and they've been posting it on Instagram, and I'm going to have them send me a packet. I'm going to tell you, for those who, Kate knows this, but if you have never done this, these Japanese silvers are not cheap. They're actually, some of them are more expensive than gold. And by quite a bit, because the treatment to get the silver to turn these colors is not inexpensive, and it's not made here. I'm just excited that I actually remembered I had this to do this product. Sorry, folks, I'm in my studio too much. I'm looking at cans thinking product. When I took your Eglomise, we tried to figure out some heavy texture. Oh, you know what? I have no idea what they did. I never figured that one out. I know they're here in Chicago. It's not like I can call them up and say, hey, let me, can you tell me your secret to this deal? So I have no idea what they did. I looked. The closest we were getting, they had something that was really clear and shiny that was making that happen. And I have found, Sandra Spannon, the Spannon method that I taught you in class is about as close as I've gotten to that. I really don't know. I suggest anybody who's watching this right now, check out Miriam Elner's Instagram page. Check out Sandra Spannon's Instagram page. I think Sandra Spannon's is Seagold, under Seagold, SEEGOLD. Absolutely feel free to check out mine, but I haven't posted much new Verre Eglomise stuff. Water Gilders out of the UK, beautiful work with heavy textures on Eglomise. It's just something I've never quite figured it out on my own. I mean, I mostly work with faux effects products, so nothing I have done with FE products has gotten that look that we were looking at that day. Send me the stuff again, and I'll run it by Annie, and I'll run it by Kate, and maybe we can figure something out. I don't think I even have the pictures of it anymore, so if you want to send it to me, I will do my best to figure it out. Okay, well, I'm gonna go battle this silver for a little while. I don't think it's that much fun watching me not screw it up. And I would, once this is tamped down, I will show you the patinaing process that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to show you what I'm doing with the nightstand to see how it's all going to work. Great to see everybody. I hope you enjoy this and at least laugh at me. Once again, it's me making a mess in my studio. Talk to everybody later. Bye.